Recording.
Okay.
Okay,
Recording started.
okay.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Uh,
It's a huge pleasure for me to introduce Professor Rodrigo Madureira, the second speaker of today. First of all, Rodrigo holds a PhD in computer science from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, that is UFRJ, in 2018, under the supervision of Professor Mauro Rincon, one of the organizers of this event. Since 2023, Rodrigo is an assistant professor at the Applied Mathematics Department in the Rio de Janeiro State University, UERJ. Professor Rodrigo Madureira has more than 64 citations and H-index 6 as well. His area of expertise in applied mathematics covers topics related with algorithms and numerical methods, especially finite element method. Rodrigo also works with projects involving mathematical physics. His talk is entitled Numerical Simulation for a Thermal Elastic Diffusion Problem in Moving Boundary. So, Professor Rodrigo, you can start.
okay. Thank you very much. I am grateful for the invitation to Professor Juan Limaco, and I will talk about this work, numerical simulation for a thermoelastic diffusion problem in moving boundary. Well, um, this talk is organized as follows. First, I will introduce the problem and its motivation. Next, I will present the numerical methods. Uh, they are coupled numerical method, the uncoupled numerical method with predictor corrector scan, and uncoupled numerical method. Next, I will present some results, not to prove, but for us present the error estimate for the discrete problem in the norms H10 and L squared norm. And finally, I will show the numerical simulation of this problem. Okay? And the conclusions after that. Okay? Concept of thermoelastic diffusion. Let me begin with this concept. This is a phenomenon that describes the mass transfer through concentration differences between different regions of the material. When it appears in many important applications, for example, in problems involving satellites and space vehicles, oils companies, metallurgy, ceramic production, and so on. There are many applications of this concept. Motivation. The result, despite its importance, thermoelastic diffusion in moving boundary problems is still not fully understood. This is true both from the physical and mathematical points of view. Moreover, the number of analytical results available in the literature is limited. Therefore, the main question we address is, how does mass diffusion coupled with thermal effects influence moving boundary problems? Investigations are made by several authors from different perspectives. For example, Nowak, Cheriev, among other authors. This is the model that is a part of my work. And in this model, we see a hyperbolic equation and two parabolic equations, right? There are Dirichlet boundary conditions. First, I will talk about the initial conditions and the boundary conditions, null boundaries, null boundary conditions, right? The variables of this model are U is the displacement that represents the mechanical deformation of a material due to temperature changes over time. The variable theta represents the difference of temperature between actual state and the reference temperature. And capital P is the chemical potential. We also introduce several physical constants, such as density, ρ is density, alpha is elastic coefficient, K thermal conductivity, and then there are many constants of this physical problem, right? And the last ones, gamma 1 and gamma 2, material coupling parameters, right? We work with a non-cylindric domain. Its meaning is that each instant, the spatial domain represented by hat q is between minus K of t and K of t, right? So these functions are part of the lateral boundary. Boundary is a function of time, right? We make some assumptions in this problem about the function K of t and the constants alpha, beta, gamma, and K satisfy the following conditions. The H1 says to us that the function K must be sufficiently smooth and strictly positive. Is sufficiently smooth of class C cubed, right? There are other assumptions, but I will highlight the assumption H5, stability. This is the assumption H5 guarantees the stability of this is a stability condition. The constants C, D, and eta must satisfy C times zeta minus D square is greater than 0, right? This is one of the most important assumptions of this problem. Some theorems are made. Under these assumptions, we have two important results. When we the theorem 1.1 is talking about the existence and the uniqueness of solutions. Assume that the assumptions H4 and H5 hold, and let the initial conditions be given by is shown as follows. Then there exists an unique solution. This solution is represented by these three variables, U, theta, and capital P to the problem, to the model I have presented previously, such that U, theta, and capital P belongs to these spaces which are shown as follows on the slide, right? And the second theorem is talking about energy decay. The energy of the system decays exponentially over time. This means that the system is stable and dissipative. Note that the matrix that appears in the integrand of the function E of t must be invertible because of assumption H5. H5, to recall, C times eta minus D square is strictly positive. Because of this matrix is invertible, right? The determinant is non-zero. Then there exists positive constants such that for all t greater than 0, this function E of t is less than or equal to a function that decreases exponentially, right? Well, here is a non-homogeneous form of the model. When here we replace the zero, which appears in the right side of the equations, to external force. In the first equation, we replace the zero in the right side to the external force F1. The second we replace for F2, and the third we replace for 2F3, and appears the boundary conditions and the initial conditions. It's in non-cylindrical domain, that is, in moving boundary. We have to make a transformation. Due to mathematical difficulties in solving problems in the variable domain, and to deal with the moving boundary, we apply a change of variables. We transform the original domain to a cylindrical or fixed domain. To recall, diffeomorphism occurs when the function is bijective, differentiable, and smooth, right? In this case, it's a diffeomorphism of class C cubed, right? We make a transformation. First, we make a transformation from a non-cylindrical domain to a cylindrical one to solve numerically. Under the change of variables, we have seen in the previous slide, the problem in cylindrical domain is stated here. Under the change of variables, this problem too is a problem now in the cylindrical domain. Okay, we will work now with this problem in cylindrical domain. Under the initial conditions, the null boundary conditions, and the functions defined after the change of variables, right? Here it's a variational formulation or weak formulation. Since we work with finite element methods, we have to make a variational formulation to the strong formulation presented in the problem 2, working with cylindrical domain. To apply numerical methods, we rewrite the problem in variational form that is present here. This involves multiplying the equations in the strong formulation by test functions, phi1, phi2, and integrating over the domain. The result is a weak formulation of the problem with suitable for the finite element method, right? This is the weak formulation of the problem in cylindrical domain. Well, we have seen the problem 2, that is a strong formulation of in the cylindrical domain, and make a transformation to a weak formulation of this problem that is problem 3. The problem 2 is a weak formulation, and now we'll work with a system of ordinary differential equations resulting of the problem 2. We have to use Galerkin method and finite elements in space and finite differences in time. Okay, we have to transform a problem in a weak formulation that uses space with infinite in his base to a problem 3 that works with a finite subspace of H10, right? This finite space we call VM, and now we define the functions VM, phi, and PCM as approximation solutions that are part of this finite space, right? And replacing these functions, VM, phi, and PCM, into the weak formulation, and taking phi equals to Wj, we define the matrices, these matrices that are showing this slide, and thus we obtain the following system of ordinary differential equations in time. This is the system that we works to numerical simulations, right? This resulting system is a coupled system of ordinary differential equations in time. It involves several matrices, such as mass and the stiffness matrices. These matrices depend on the basis functions and the coefficients of the transformed problem. Next, numerical methods will be developed for the system. The first method is coupled numerical methods. It's the naturally method of this ordinary differential equations. In the coupled approach, all equations are solved simultaneously at each time step. This approach is accurate, but we don't use this approach because it's computationally expensive. We use the Newmark approximation for the variable and center time derivatives. Okay, for the first derivative and the first center time derivative and the second. It's in the first equation of the system. Now, for the second and third equations, we consider the Crank-Nicolson approximation. Crank-Nicolson, we have a mean arithmetic of the variables in time n plus 1 and n, and the derivative, the first derivative, the approximation of the first derivative using progressive Euler approximation for the derivatives in time, right? The coupled numerical method is the system where we define these matrices and the vectors represented by external force, and the vector solution formed by lambda to n, sigma to n, and psi to n. These vectors have size 3 times m, and the matrices have size 9 plus squared m. It's computationally expensive. Because of this expensive cost, we have to work with uncoupled numerical methods. The first uncoupled numerical methods works with a predictor-corrector scheme. How this works? The first equation we solve replacing the variables sigma to n plus 1 to sigma to n, and the variable c to n plus 1 to we replace to c to n. Making these replacements, we solve this system in the first equation and obtains the variable lambda to n plus 1. Now we solve the second equation to discover the variable, the unknown sigma to n plus 1. And solving, we use the variables we have entered in the first equation and solve this equation and find sigma to n plus 1. And the third equation, we use the variables found in the second equation and solves again and finds h to eta to n plus 1, right? While this norm of the zero for the variables is greater than a tolerance epsilon, we set again the predictors and return to first equation to solve again, right? But these equations are solved in an independent form. Now, we will present the uncoupled numerical method without the predictor corrector scan. In this method, the first equation is solved using Newmark and centered difference only in variable lambda. In the second equation, I extract the variable eta to n plus 1 from the third equation and make a replacement, and then solve the second equation. Solving the second equation, we have to solve the third equation and to obtain eta to n plus 1. Okay, and thus we solve these three equations independently, in an independent form. Now, I will show numerical simulations that have been implanted about these three methods. And an error estimate for the discrete problem using the uncoupled method will be presented. Here are the hypotheses regularity for the discrete case. For sufficiently regular initial data, there exist unique functions for the problem in cylindrical domain, such that the second, and the third derivatives of the functions belongs to the space that is shown as follows in this slide, right? And the fourth derivative for the variable v in this space that is shown as follows. Discrete error estimate in space H1, 0. This lemma shows that the error estimates has complexity order about 8 plus the delta t squared, right? Where c is a positive constant independent of 8 and delta t. Under this theory is to talk that the error estimates has order of complexity of 8 plus delta t squared when theta is greater than 1/4 or when theta is equal to 1/4. Okay, it's only for here. My worry is about the complexity order, right? Now, here is the estimates for the space L squared over omega. Now we have a second order complexity of in the L squared space. In the previous slide, we have seen for the H1 to 0. Now for L squared, we have a complexity increases to order 2, right? And this irregularity hypothesis show the same thing, that the order of complexity is 2 again. Well, we have the problem 1 that is in non-cylindrical domain, problem 2 that is in cylindrical domain, and the problem 3 is a weak formulation. Weak formulation that results in the system of ordinary differential equations. We have to choose the functions in a non-homogeneous form as exact solution for the problem 2. Since of this choose, the functions g1, g2, and g3 are chosen. After that, it will generate the problem 3, the system of ordinary differential equations, where we apply the methods to obtain the solutions, the approximate solutions. In the examples, the constants are defined by these values that are presented on this slide, right? In example 1, let's the display. We have the definitions of the displacement, the temperature, and the chemical potential, and the initial data, and the boundary values, right? No boundary values to satisfy the conditions. Now it's the graph of the moving boundary by the function. We work with this function key of t. Note that when we work with this function key of t, the function when t is equals to 0 is a value, has a value, and when t is equals to 1 has another value, and the interval size is increasing from time t equals to 0 from to time t equals to 1. We will have increasement of this interval, right? Now it's we have tables showing us the convergence orders for the coupled method and the uncoupled method with predictor corrector. As you see, the convergence order is about 2 in the L squared normed. In the uncoupled method is also order 2 for the norm in L squared. And now the last table on this slide showing us the convergence in space H10 when delta t is where H is equals to delta t squared, right? Now the graphs of the simulations for this example. These are for the approximate solution of variable u. The approximate solution for the variable theta and phi, and the approximate solution for the variable the capital P and psi. The graph on the left side is for the non-cylindrical domain, moving boundary, and the graph in the second, in the right side is for the cylindrical domain, right? And the energy decay. It's showing us that the energy decay is decreasing. The energy is decreasing exponentially. Now we have a second example with another functions and the same boundary values. And we define a new moving boundary, K of t. With these definitions, we have the simulation graph for a moving boundary of this example, where the interval increases from 2 to a value greater than 2, 2.25. And again, we have the convergence order is about 2 for coupled, uncoupled with predictor corrector, and for uncoupled methods. Okay? The same order. The graphs for this example, and now the energy decay here is for the homogeneous problem. The homogeneous problem is when we replace the external forces to 0. Now it's for the homogeneous problem, and we show the graphs for the homogeneous problem, right? The approximate solution in the cases of non-cylindrical and cylindrical domain. The difference in these methods, considering the mesh with H equals to delta T equals to 2 to minus H, and running the program with these examples in MATLAB, the approximate execution times were for coupled methods, it's over 200 minutes. To uncoupled with predictor corrector is about 21 minutes. And for uncoupled, we have 7 minutes of execution time. The conclusions we made about this work is that the theorems show the fully discrete problem has linear convergence order in space H1, 0, to 1, and the quadratic convergence order in L infinity on 0 to T L squared. Two efficient uncoupled numerical methods are proposed. Uncoupled numerical method for the fully discrete problem with quadratic convergence order in space. In the present examples, coupled methods is slower, matrix too expensive, of size 90 squared, 90 times m squared. Uncoupled method with predictor corrector is faster than the coupled method, obviously, and the coupled method faster than the previous ones. In the last two methods, the matrices have size squared n. The simulations are consistent, and the theoretical results of the continuous problems when applying the proposed numerical methods. Okay, these are the reference of this work. And thanks to you for your attention.
Well, Professor Rodrigo, thank you for a very, very excellent talk. Now we have some time for questions or comments. Anyone can use your microphone or the chat. The questions can be made in English, Portuguese, or Spanish, as you wish. Perguntas em inglês, português ou espanhol. Fique à vontade.
Well, thank you so much for this talk. I have a couple of questions, please.
Okay.
Going back to the convergence results of error. Yeah, please.
This?
No, the order of convergence. Convergence, less
This,
than delta.
For the first example, for the second?
Yeah, mainly in all of them. The convergence is obtained with, is it with fixed? Yeah. Are these results obtained with fixed boundaries between -1 and 1 or -k and k?
Yes. Because what's your question?
Are these results, convergence results, obtained? I see, because you wrote L2 of -1 and 1. So I believe that these convergence results are obtained in a fixed boundary condition, because you did the change of variables at the beginning. So you moved from moving boundary problem into fixed boundary problem by using this map. So these convergence results are obtained on fixed boundaries, right?
Yes.
My question: could one prove that, or could one obtain numerical simulations, the one you obtained for moving boundary? Could you prove that the same results, the error convergence for moving boundary, not for fixed boundary?
Because what's the problem of this? Since I have said in the beginning, we have difficulties in mathematics to work numerically with non-cylindric domain. And in all problems involving non-cylindrical domain, you have to transform to a problem in cylindrical domain, which they have the same results. They have the same.
So you're saying that if order of convergence in fixed boundary, the when you did the change of variable is 2, so for moving boundary it's
yes,
also 2.
It's of order 2 in moving boundary, exactly.
I see.
And the graphs.
Okay.
Here, the graph in this example, we don't see clearly the second one. In the second one, the graph in all these graphs, the graph in the right, in the left side.
I think there is a connection problem with Rodrigo, right?
Yeah,
he frozen.
I couldn't hear him anymore.
His screen has stopped. Rodrigo, can you hear me?
A fixed boundary.
Okay. He came back.
Yeah. No.
Rodrigo, your audio, please.